Hello and welcome to Your New Jersey. I'm Lisa Marie Falbo. On today's show, we meet Hoboken's Megan Celeste, founder and CEO of MDC Productions, who recently launched a new children's podcast. But first, Stone Pony in Asbury Park is celebrating 50 years in many ways, including being one of the host sites for the North Shore Festival. Today we have Caroline O'Toole, General Manager of the Stone Pony, and Jared Clemens, son of the late Clarence Clemens of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. Caroline, Jared, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for
Hi,
having
how
us.
are ya?
Great. So, Caroline, I will start with you because you are celebrating a lot this summer between the North Shore Festival and your 50th anniversary of the legendary Stone Pony. Just reflect on that milestone.
Yeah, it's not a lot of businesses get to a 50 year, so then that in itself is, very cool. There's a lot of pain along the way, but a lot of success too. It is a time to just sort of look back and see how it happened and just all the special moments. It's just a lot that you think about all the time.
For our viewers, especially the younger ones that aren't familiar with how the Stone Pony was born, tell us that story about your beginnings 5 decades ago.
In 1974, these two guys opened this place and never thought that it would become what it is. It was a struggle for them for a long time until it started hitting its stride a little bit, like any business. But they made it, and through other ownership after that, it was able to continue on. And here we are at 50.
How did you enter into the equation?
I entered like 20 years ago, and it became something I didn't want to say no to. One, because it was the Stone Pony, and two, it was at that point part of rebuilding a city in Asbury Park. The city was just on the verge of trying to come back. I very much wanted to be part of it because Asbury Park was a special place for me growing up, and I wanted to be part of making sure that experience, became part of other kids' lives.
Yeah, well, Jared, I'll bring you in. You did a lot of growing up at the Stone Pony with your father and the E Street Band, I'm sure. What was your experience like?
I was actually 15 when I first walked in and got to take a little tour of the place, and they had a summer stage show that day, but I had no clue what it was at the time. And all the security and staff there were like, "Oh, it's so cool that you're here," and it was just something, just like it was just magical walking in there.
And now you perform on its stage. That has to feel so surreal sometimes.
Yeah, I get choked up playing on stage there, and it's every time. It's like this energy is just, it's unreal. It's something that you really can't experience anywhere else. So,
Well, there's a lot of magic, a lot of ghosts in those Stone
yeah.
Pony walls for sure. Caroline, how have you been able to keep up with the times and the trends and the revitalization surrounding you?
We're lucky because there's natural interest in Asbury Park, and especially in the music of Asbury Park. So we try and keep the room full of different genres, to keep new people coming around all the time, not just for the pony, but for the city. But then we always have our classic rock, which is just a symbol of who we are.
Those classic rockers, they keep coming back. And I just think it's such a testament to who we are as the Garden State, because people like Bon Jovi and Bruce Springsteen, Southside Johnny, they keep coming back to your stage, surprising concert goers a lot of the times. And you don't see that literally anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, well, it's also a lot about New Jersey, a lot about the Jersey Shore, especially Asbury Park, and people's attachment to it, and proud to be from here, and proud to come back. And I love it when it happens because it just makes moments even more special. To hear Southside Johnny talk about the Stone Pony, or where Bruce met Patty, or it's just, they're magic moments that when you hear them, it's It's really incredible.
How does the Stone Pony give back to the community at large, besides providing Asbury Park with an amazing concert venue?
Well, we do a lot to support children's charities. We just did an event with the mayor in April, and it's a recreation event. And we do it every 2 years because the mayor made a promise when he came into office that no child would ever go without a recreation program. And he has kept that promise. And, I love that he does the event with us and, just something that we're proud of and, taking care of the kids because that's the future of this city.
Jared, let's bring you in. Performing there now, what goes through your mind?
It's heavy on the shoulders, just thinking of all the bands that have played on that stage. It's a very heavy feeling, and then now there's the kids that play on the stage, and they're just as talented as I am, or more talented than I am, and it's just a lot, just to think of all the history that's been on that stage.
You are doing a lot of performing this summer with the North to Shore Festival. It's in its second year. What role will you be playing this year, Jared?
June 16th, we're playing at the Wonder Bar in honor of my father, his passing anniversary, on Father's Day. That we're trying to really nail all of his songs note for note, but we just love to have fun and honor his memory because, I feel like, as much as my dad is talked about, I feel like he's not talked about enough. And that's not me trying to sound biased or anything, but I feel like there could be more to honor him and to mention him and things like that. And that's what our goal is to do that and to be a part of North to Shore with that. It's very special, and I am so grateful for it.
Who will be performing there for North to Shore this year?
Well, on our summer stage, we have Gary Clark Jr. We have a great Band of Horses. And we're really proud of our Bleachers show that will be on that Saturday because Jack Antonoff, of course, is all about New Jersey. He's a friend of ours, and, we love when he comes around.
Yeah, he's kind of established himself as that next generation after the Bruces and the Bon Jovis. Talk about the relationship Jack has with Stone Pony.
Yeah, he's done a couple special videos in there, and every time he does a show, he brings a replica of his bedroom he grew up in, living in New Jersey. It's people go in it. It's an exhibit actually out on one of the streets, and people just. The show sold out in minutes. It just really says a lot about Jack and and what he means to people around here.
Yeah, and I mentioned this earlier in the segment. Jack, Bon Jovi, Bruce, it goes on and on. They don't leave here. They may travel and do their thing, but it always ties back to Jersey, and it's just a thing. You can't describe it, but it's just a thing that we just have here that no other state has.
Well, that's exactly it. I don't think any other state has that. And it just shows the pride, the Jersey pride that no matter where you are, you have it.
Exactly. Well, Jared, where can people find out more about you and to get tickets for your North to Shore show?
You could look it up on the North to Shore website or wonderbar.com or my social media as well, at Jared Clemens on all platforms. But it's going to be a show you don't want to miss.
And Caroline, where can people find out more about Stone Pony, your 50th anniversary, and everything great you have happening?
StonePonyOnline.com, and if you go to the history page, it will tell you a whole lot more than I'm ever able to say in one sitting. And then there's some special 50th anniversary merchandise if anyone is so inclined.
This was so much fun. Thank you so much. You're both legends in the music world here in New Jersey. And can't wait to see you down the shore this summer.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
The Search for the Silver Lining is an audio podcast series centered around positivity and optimism to boost a child's self-esteem and mental health. Megan Celeste, founder and CEO of MDC Productions, is here to tell us more. Megan, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I love this idea. How did it come to fruition?
The short story is it's actually an idea that was conceived by my daughter. So she's 9 now, but during the pandemic, she was 6. And it's really a reflection of how she saw the world and how she coped with what was happening. The children were obviously home from school, doing remote schooling. There was a lot of emotional disconnect amidst the social distancing. So she really is kind of a glass half full child and always was able to find the silver lining in tough situations. And I worried about her like other parents did. I said, how are you feeling? Checking in with her constantly. And she said she was doing great. She felt happy at home and had just written this collection of short stories that she presented to me. And I thought it would make a great children's series.
What a testament to you and how you brought up your daughter to be that in tune with her feelings at 6. Were you kind of blown away by what she was coming up with?
I was. And, I feel like sometimes it's just a credit to her personality. I'm her mom, but given the work that I do, I've become somewhat, jaded and cynical. And I see a lot of the scary, tragic things that are happening in the world. So I try to, teach her about it without scaring her. And she just, I feel like I birthed a 30-year-old sometimes. She just kind of has always had this bird's eye view of things, a very rosy colored way of looking at the world. And I thought that was magical. And I hope that she never loses it.
It seems like you kind of knew what to do in shopping around this idea. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I work at the nexus of philanthropy. I do a lot of talent engagement, video production, event production. It's a very unique. I worked in advertising for about 12 years, and at the same time, I did a lot of charity work, and I felt like that was where my passion lied. So I started my own company, and I just took every opportunity that came my way. And because of that, I met a lot of really unique, interesting people. I met a lot of different celebrities and got involved with a lot of nonprofits, working with veterans and children with cancer, victims of trafficking, things that really moved me. My family, I come from a law enforcement family, so I wanted to make an impact and help. And so when I had this project, I was originally thinking it would be a good children's book series, and a mutual friend had put me in touch with somebody from Go Kid Go. Maya Glickman is a founder and CEO there, and they exclusively do children's content. And I just loved everything about them. They were so wholesome. They are STEM accredited. I believe they're the only children's podcast company that has that accreditation, and which means the content can support classroom learning and social emotional learning, which is something kids really need these days. It's hard to regulate. They've missed out on a lot of social learning being home. And, on the heels of COVID, I felt like this was a great opportunity. So they asked me if I could adapt what we had written into a podcast type format, which was new to me. Very like script writing and dialogue, but they paired me with a writer, and it was a wonderful experience. And then I was able to lean on help from some of the talent that I'd worked with over the years in a different capacity, and they were happy to help, and here we are.
Take us through a typical episode. What topics are they touching on?
So the topics are all about positivity and empowerment. So the idea is for the series to support a child's self-esteem and mental health. We talk about issues like honesty and doing the right thing even when no one is looking. The best gifts are from the heart. So, children obviously don't have a lot of money, but they have time to make things. And where's the value in that? Having good role models. Again, really trying to stick to wholesome without being preachy, without being political. There's no narratives. It really is just, at the time it was like buy a 6-year-old for 6-year-olds. So we've obviously evolved a bit. But the episode is written, we have some jokes in there, some humor, some magic, a little, for the boys and the girls. Our main character is a young heroine, and she is the first girl knight in Camelot. And then I just reached out to the talent that I knew that had kind of a connection to the topic that we were talking about. And I just asked them if they could help introduce the episode or do some sort of special narration. And we paired that together. And that's what you hear now. And now we're on Spotify and Amazon and everywhere podcasts are found. Out of the gates, the first one to come on board and help was Robert De Niro. He is, not big in the children's movie space, but I had done a lot of work with him in the past with Ronald McDonald House New York, and he did the Silver Linings Playbook, which I felt was a movie that gave adults hope after divorce, and it showed the silver lining. And so we wanted to do something like that for children. So he came on and he lent his voice to a series trailer and some episode intros. Then Liam Neeson came on board, and Emily Blunt, she did an episode for Gifts from the Heart, because from everything we know about Emily and having worked with her, she just is so generous and kind-hearted and thoughtful. So a pretty diverse cast, but it was, everyone was so wonderful about jumping in.
An A-list cast, and I'm sure that has done wonders in the traffic that the podcast has gotten.
Yes, I feel like they definitely lend themselves to their platform to having more readers or more listeners come and learn about us. And then just the quality of the writing, the help from Go Kid Go, putting that out there, having the humor, I feel like that lends itself to the stickiness and the engagement. We're really just trying to reach more and more listeners every week. The goal is, yes, to impress them a little bit with the celebrity engagement, but also to absorb the content and talk to their parents after about what the lessons were in the episode, what they liked and what they didn't like, what they might do differently. So it's a little mix of everything.
What does your daughter think of all this? How her little idea from the pandemic has sprouted all of this?
She is thrilled. She's very proud. She really just wants to help people. She's not, having grown up in this world where I have her, with me at different events, and she's met a lot of this talent. Like she met Bob and Liam when she was only maybe a year old. And so she is more impressed with the idea of helping other children, and people will tell her that they've heard her series. She plays a lot of sports, and when her teammates listen to it and they give her feedback on an episode, she's on cloud nine. So I think for me to see her feeling empowered and also listening to people, getting ideas, and again, it's the main character is based on her. So I think that she is just very pleased with how all this is. For her, it was never an option that it wouldn't be.
Is there an episode that stands out to you that's like, wow, like this is just an unbelievable thing that we're doing, and I'm so happy so many people can learn from this?
It's the one, it's called Mind Over Matter, and it's brought to you by Chris Hemsworth. And it is, in the real world, it's Isla, and she's learning how to surf. And this is based on a true story, where she learned when she was 3 years old. And I made a comment about her surfing, and I said, I'm so proud of you. You're fearless. And she said, I'm very afraid. She's like, I'm not fearless. I'm very afraid, but I want to do it anyway because I want to learn to surf. So that translated into, this young girl in this magical world. She has to get through this obstacle course. And it's all about visualization and mind over matter, positivity, and really talking yourself through your anxiety. And I think that that's such an important lesson, no matter what age. It's something that I still do myself in times where I feel stressed. And I think if you can teach kids tools to manage their anxiety and stress, it empowers them to be able to cope with anything that comes their way. So this, more than anything, I feel like instead of giving a lesson, this was actually giving some tools, which I felt was, beneficial.
You're doing work better than a politician ever could, because you're getting to the heart of the matter in such a cool way.
My daughter has always been very empathetic. She's come with me to trips to Ronald McDonald House, New York. I do a lot of work with them, and she's visited children in the hospital, and we've met families of fallen servicemen, and she's just always kind of had her finger on the pulse of what can I do to help. And we do have an episode coming up with Kristen Bell that talks about the difference between sympathy and empathy, and feeling bad versus feeling compelled to take action. And she's always been the latter. So I want to just encourage that. And I think this series is one way that it's fun for us to do together, but it's also one way that I can help support this part of her that I want to see grow.
I love that you bring your daughter on your journey. Whether it's before all of this, she got used to being on sets and being around talent, like A-listers that you've been around. I try and do the same thing with my 3-year-old.
I think it's important because it's a real world. Obviously you shelter them as much as you can from the more traumatic things, but I have people that come to me now and they're like, how do I talk to my child about grief or death or loss of a pet? And it's such a crash course in how to, now they're 9 and 10. And it's something that I had started with Isla from a very early age, and every parent is different. And I would never tell anyone how to parent, but I do think transparency and honesty is really important. And also, you have the whole idea of parenthood is preparing your child for the real world and how to digest it in a way that doesn't completely traumatize them. And so the earlier you start, the better, especially if you're with them. Having your child with you every step of the way is so important.
I MC the Alzheimer's New Jersey walk at Liberty State Park, and I brought my kids with me, with our babysitter. And right before I hit the stage, Liana, my daughter, started having, she was on the verge of a meltdown. Mommy, don't leave me. And I was literally due to go on stage at that second. So I was faced with, well, what do I do? Do I leave the babysitter with a nightmare? Or do I just scoop her up and MC this event with her?
Right.
For an hour, I stood on stage holding 32 pounds as I did my thing. People laughed. I felt, the client was very understanding. It was a family event, but sometimes as moms, you got to do what you got to do.
I think that makes you so relatable. And that's something that, you look back on, and those events are just the best memories. Isla's done that too. I mean, she's so wise and mature now, but there were definitely times where I was in the corner and she just did not want to have anything to do with what I was doing. And, I needed some help, but it's just children. They're supposed to be wild, and they learn from us. And, you have to really be patient, which is hard to do. And, but also Isla has benefited from seeing the other side of the coin. So I think having your children with you and seeing this side of work and understanding that we are very lucky, and with the roll of the dice, we could be on the other side of this coin. And, especially with the pediatric cancer families that we work with, Isla's very mindful of the fact that these children need our help and they need our attention, and it could happen to anybody. So I think it's all about perspective.
You mentioned pediatric cancer families. Karen Hart from the Tom Coughlin J Fund is who brought us together here today. Do you do work with the J Fund and their families?
I do. So I organize, I work with different movie studios, and I organize screening events for the children who have cancer that are usually too immune compromised to go into a regular theater. And, a risk of a germ is potentially deadly. So we do movie screenings, and I bring in the talent, and we have meet and greets. And so I met Karen through a family that had stayed at Ronald McDonald House, and then they were with the J Fund for quite some time. And we started working together and inviting their children along. And we've just maintained a really nice friendship since then. And she's been amazing at helping me navigate this. PR is a whole different world for me. I was writing and I was getting the talent and packaging this, and the rest of it is really her area of expertise.
Yeah, and she gets it and genuinely cares. And the Tom Coughlin J Fund, we feature them many times on this show, and I mean, they do beautiful work around the Garden State for families, and I can't think of anything scarier ever than facing that.
When I started with Ronald McDonald House, and I was on the board of a charity, Kids Kicking Cancer, my perspective, talk about perspective, has shifted. I was a volunteer and I helped, and I felt so terrible for these children. And now as a parent, I connect with the moms and the dads. I see my daughter in every one of these children, and they are just beside themselves trying to get their children well and take care of their child. They don't have time to go out there and advocate and fundraise and get some help. And they, rely on someone like me or someone like you to tell their story. And I would hope that if my daughter was sick, there would be people out there that felt she was worth it and were out there, championing her cause and really helping to kind of move the ball forward. Pediatric cancer is it's completely a nightmare, and there's no rhyme or reason. It's not hereditary. And I feel like we need to put more attention on our children, because we can cure it. Look what we did with breast cancer years ago and with prostate cancer. You put enough time and attention towards something, you raise enough money, and you can get to a point where you find a cure with early intervention. Same thing could happen for pediatric cancer.
Megan, this was so much fun. It was a pleasure getting to know you and the behind the scenes of your wonderful podcast. Where can people find out more about you?
They can go to my website, which is mdcproductions.com. And to listen to the series, you can go to Spotify. You can go to gokidgo.com. It's called The Search for the Silver Lining. Yeah, we're everywhere podcasts are found.
Congratulations on such a beautiful endeavor. It was a pleasure getting to know you here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me again on behalf of Isla and I and Go Kid Go. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of Your New Jersey. I'm Lisa Marie Falbo. We'll see you back here next week.
Summers in New Jersey were made to wow you. From sun and wows to fun and wows and every wow in between. So come see what your wow's gonna be. New Jersey. It's one wow after another, after another, after another. You get it. Find your wow at visitnj.org. New Jersey. Little state, lot of